This is the physical scale of the logistics network required to move a single cardboard box to your front door. Large-scale corporations like Amazon have spent decades building supply chains that span continents just to keep these warehouses moving. And while the products inside those boxes are used globally, the companies behind them have very specific origins. Brands like Apple, despite their worldwide reach, remain centered on an American foundation. If a tech giant or an automaker already has millions of customers at home, it raises a question. Why take on the burden of crossing borders? Why navigate new legal systems, fluctuating currencies, and the risks of overseas shipping? Every company eventually hits the wall of market saturation. No matter how large a country is, there is a limit to how many domestic customers exist, and once a brand reaches them, growth stops. Beyond that limit, profits begin to plateau. At the same time, as a business scales up within its own country, the cost of local raw materials and human labor often becomes its biggest financial drain. Expanding globally becomes a necessity. To break past these domestic ceilings and find new avenues for profit, companies must look outward. The most direct way a company steps onto the world stage is through the physical exchange of goods, exporting and importing. This starts with a nation shipping its native resources to foreign buyers. India, for instance, uses its massive agricultural sector to supply millions of tons of tea to consumers around the world. That same infrastructure allows India to distribute regional spices into the kitchens of nearly every country on Earth. This reaches into advanced sectors as well, where India's manufacturing role makes it a primary source for the world's pharmaceutical supplies. Importing is the reverse of this flow. It's how countries secure the electronics, crude oil, and machinery they cannot produce efficiently at home, keeping their own internal economies running. While shipping boxes back and forth creates a baseline for trade, it represents a limited commitment. For a brand to truly dominate a new region, it needs to leave a permanent footprint. When shipping a finished product becomes too slow or expensive, companies turn to foreign direct investment. This involves a brand physically building its own infrastructure, like this massive manufacturing plant, on foreign soil. It gives the parent company immediate access to local labor and materials, bypassing the delays of international shipping. Another strategy is to export the business method itself. Through licensing and franchising, a company can expand without having to build every location themselves. We see this constantly with fast food chains. They provide the recipes and the branding to local owners, allowing the brand to spread rapidly across thousands of miles. By letting local operators manage daily costs, the brand establishes a global presence while shifting financial risk to the franchise owner. These strategies weave the deep connections of the modern economy, making nations highly dependent on one another for continued success. In its ideal state, this network strengthens economies, creates jobs, and spreads new technologies across borders. But this interconnectedness makes the system fragile. A disruption in one region no longer stays local. It can trigger a crisis affecting the entire global chain. The most significant risk comes from trade wars, geopolitical disputes where governments intentionally use tariffs and restrictions to block the flow of international business. The trade conflict between the USA and China is the clearest example of two integrated economies clashing, using trade as a tool of political leverage. These disputes cause shockwaves far beyond the boardrooms. Prices for raw materials spike, and smaller companies that rely on global components often face sudden, heavy losses. International business is more than just a corporate strategy. It is the force that determines the stability of local jobs, the prices on our store shelves, and the availability of everyday products. If you want to understand the mechanics driving the global economy, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Thanks for watching.